Hey everyone, it's Michael Kikle. I hope you're doing well today, and I have a review here for a film that I've wanted to see since it came out in 2010, but I really wanted to see it a few years after it had come out, like closer to 2013, 14, because my childhood best friend loved it so much and kept telling me how good it was. He said he watched it over and over again, and I never got around to it, and I finally found a copy recently of Tron Legacy. Now, first and foremost, the only thing I knew about this movie was that Daft Punk did the soundtrack. I've never seen the original. I didn't even know there was an original until about 2 or 3 years ago when Red Letter Media covered it. Didn't know a thing about it. As many reviews and whatever I listened to back when I was younger about this movie coming out, it looked very stylistic. It looked very cool. The MCU was like 2 years old when this movie came out, and it was trying to build up a new franchise that was based on an old IP from Disney, of all people, too. But I had never heard of the original film, I had never seen it, and frankly, to be honest with you, I enjoyed Legacy so much that I very likely will go ahead and watch that original movie at some point. Probably not right now, because I have so much other stuff in my backlog I'm working through. I'm also watching Christmas movies and whatever. But when I get a chance, maybe in 2025, because we're getting a new film called Tron Ares, which I don't know who's going to be in that, I don't know anything about that movie, but needless to say, I'm excited about it. I hope they bring back Daft Punk to do the soundtrack and score. But anyway, I thought this was such a badass movie. I want to check out the original. I know it's going to be very, very different, but at least it'll have that classic Disney feel to it. But it looks cheap as shit to me. Anyway, this is a very CGI-heavy film that's really a father and son story more than anything. Basically, we follow kind of a modern hacker guy who goes into what used to be his dad's company called Flynn's, I think is what it was, because their last name is Flynn, and it's now called Incom. And he goes in there, he does some hacking stuff, he takes the new tech from this company and puts it all over the internet, so this thing they've been building for years is now free. But he's also the largest shareholder because of his dad helping to create the company back in the day and basically run the whole thing, until he basically vanished. Now, the young man we follow is like 22, 23, something like that, 25, 26, I don't know. But his dad, Jeff Bridges, from the original movie, he actually vanished one day. And he never knew what happened to him. His dad had made all these promises to him. And his dad, Jeff Bridges, is the creator of a game called Tron. He had like an arcade company that he would let kids come into and play. But anyway, he vanished, and nobody ever heard what happened to him. People assumed he was dead, whatever, and so did our main character, the son. So he goes off to the old arcade one day, and happens to be playing around. He happens to see some scratches on the floor near the Tron arcade that his dad built back in the day. And he tinkers around with it, he finds a secret door, he goes into kind of like a secret backroom entrance, and he ends up finding a room that has like this laser thing pointed around inside of it, And at one point, it goes off because he started up the computer system and the power in the building, and it shoots the laser at him, and he gets sucked into the Tron world, right? Well, come to find out, his dad has been there this whole time. His dad has been aging, he's kind of an older man now, just like Jeff Bridges is, and he finds out there's like an evil AI version of his dad, which is really ahead of its time, I think, in a lot of cool ways. You didn't really see that very often back then, you know? You may have like the evil robot movies, like, iRobot, for example, but you never really had something like this, in my opinion, especially as heavily styled as it was. iRobot was kind of like that, but not as good, in my opinion. The majority of the special effects in this Tron world, to me, are phenomenal. I mean, I really loved it. I watched it on Blu-ray on my TV, big old TV down here, and it just blew me away, man, with how incredibly, just shockingly beautiful the movie is. The soundtrack score, again, is done by Daft Punk, that band, kind of a techno band, but kind of like pre-dubstep, maybe even the beginning influence to dubstep types of stuff, and it really just made the movie. That might be the best thing out of the film aside from the CGI. The biggest issue I've seen in the film is that the AI evil version of Jeff Bridges has a young Jeff Bridges CGI face, and it's de-aging technology from what I understand. I don't think it was just copy and paste CGI. It looks horrendous, and it's something I used to hear people joke about all the time with this movie. It happens outside of the Tron world, it happens in the Tron world. It's extremely distracting every time it shows up. This must have been the precursor to de-aging technology back in the day, before you saw it perfected for like Robert Downey Jr. in Civil War. It looked amazing there. It shocked me when I saw that movie for the first time in theaters, and I was seeing the guy from like Tough Turf. I was seeing the guy from all of these older films from when I was growing up in the 2000s and whatever, and getting to see these movies my mom loved in the 80s, and just seeing Robert Downey Jr. pop up in them. It was a little bit of a shock, to be honest with you. It was perfected. But then watching this and seeing that with Jeff Bridges and seeing how far that technology came in, 5, 6 years? I think Civil War was 16, right? 2016? Yeah, so in about 6 years it came that far. It's amazing. It really is what technology has become in recent years, even in my lifetime, no matter what people tell you. So that was kind of awesome. But it is more of a father-son story. It's kind of a rescue story. Once the son figures out what's going on, once he finds out what's going on in this kind of kingdom land rule in the Tron world. But then you have all the stuff with like what are they called? Light cycles? They're like a motorcycle race, like the actual Tron video games I had on Game Boy were. Which I always sucked at those, by the way. Those are some horse shit. Those games cheat. Anyway, the whole, like, it reminds me of a writer that I love on YouTube. He used to do a lot of videos. His name was Travis McBee, and he started a book series he created called Bridge World. And a lot of the things he described, if they were more sci-fi tech-focused, from what I understand, I think they kind of were, but if they were more heavily into that and in completely a Ready Player One digitized world, this is what I imagine a lot of the things he gives advice for on his channel, which, by the way, he gave writing tips videos back in the day. His writing tips are genius. I mean, truly genius if you're into writing, so check that out. Travis McBee. But it was amazing to me the way things were handled in here, and very much how it was kind of like the Quidditch parts of Harry Potter, and kind of like the game that Travis McBee has in his books, where you would have the light cycle races, you would have this one game where they're throwing the discs that are kind of their version of like guns and weapons back and forth to kill people. When people die, which by the way, there's a lot of death in this movie, it really surprised me. People are getting shot in the head with lasers, but since you don't like bleed, you just become a bunch of pixels like a Pac-Man ghost or some shit. I don't even know what to describe it as. But since most of the things in this game are programs and robots and whatever in that program, when people get shot in the head or something, you'll just see a bunch of sparks go everywhere. It's really sick, dude. It really is. From the aesthetic of the coloring, how there's a lot of white and blue and red and orange, to just seeing, like, people can get their arms cut off and stuff, and, like, it'll kill them, basically. They don't bleed out, they just kind of stop because they're a program. It's a very bizarre film, but it's very simple in the kind of story it's trying to tell. I really hope, since Jeff Bridges is coming back for Tron Ares, I really hope they pick up on a lot of things that happen in this movie. I love the lead. I thought he was really good. I expected him to be better, but again, the story was so simplistic, he didn't really have a whole lot to work with. They give him some lines to have kind of like badass one-liners, and he does really well there. There's kind of a side female character in the movie played by Olivia Wilde. I'm going to give her some props. I don't even like Olivia Wilde. I think she's obnoxious, to be honest with you, in movies and in whatever, she's a director now, whatever. She's really solid here. She does a really solid job with what she has to do of kind of being almost like the childlike voice in the midst of Jeff Bridges and his son kind of rebonding. And, she's just there, not as like a bodyguard. She's not like in that 2010s onward mentality of making her, this super tough chick that can beat up dudes left and right. She's tough, but she's not that tough in an unrealistic sense, even though she's a video game character, basically. But she's really good here. The actress is good. The writing for her was good, which was surprising. Jeff Bridges, who I keep bringing up, really great here. Really great here. And everything he could possibly do, even with the issue on the de-aging technology for the evil version of him, gave a good performance, I think. So, at the end of the day, I think that there's so much to offer with Tron Legacy. If you're one of the people like me who never got around to watching this, I really think you would love it. I really do. It's got a lot of cool stuff in here. I can see with how it's definitely a slow burn of a movie. I can see why it never took off for the mainstream audiences. I can see why people were not dedicated and in love with this. But I think Ares has a chance to fix that. I really do. I think there's a small chance that it could fix that and be a lot better, and people will totally be hooked and engaged on it. I hope I'm right about that, because I think there's a good chance this could really take off and be a bigger deal than it was in the 80s or even in the 2010 when this movie came out. But yeah, there's a good chance there's some really cool stuff with this that could happen. But again, they did so much with this movie, with the world building and whatnot. It's really focused on world building. They did so much with that I don't know how much more you could do to make it refreshing in a third film, you know? But maybe that third film should be the ending of the series. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. I'm kind of okay, even not seeing the original Tron. If this was a standalone movie, I'm completely cool with that. Tron Legacy, to me, really impressed me, really held up in a lot of ways. For the people who had been recommending this to me for so long, like my childhood best friend, he swore up and down, it's a really stylistic, cool-looking movie, and he was right, and I think it has a lot to offer in that respect if you're looking for that kind of film, just to have something different to see, because we don't get movies like this. We never get movies like this, and probably for good reason, because it made no money back in the day. Anyway, I hope Tron Ares is good, and like I said, I want to check out the original at some point, just to see if I actually like it. If I don't like it, at least it'll be a review for you guys. So, anyway, Tron Legacy was really badass in a lot of ways. If I had to rate it on a 5-star basis, I would probably give it about, probably a 4 out of 5 stars for me. It's not perfect, it's a little too slow sometimes, but for the most part, it's really fun. It's got a lot of great action. The light cycles are badass. It's good. I recommend it quite a bit, so thank you all for watching, guys. What do you think about Tron Ares coming out? What do you think about the original film? And especially, what do you think about Tron Legacy? Let me know all that down below. Thank you all for watching, guys. God bless you all. Catch you later. Merry Christmas, and goodbye.